Well, hello, friends. How are we doing today? It's been a while since we talked to you here. This is Sharon. I'm Steve,
Hello, everyone.
and you are you, and we are the Oneness Project. It's been a while since we've talked. I spent some time with my wife for a weekend when it's a beautiful place called Banff here in Alberta, Canada. Um, I just found out it is considered one of the second most beautiful place in the world. One particular place we were called Mariana Lake. You might want to check it out. It was awesome. Anyways, had some time to recuperate, regenerate, and start think. And a lot of times, being out in nature like that makes you think. And so Sharon and I were, like usual, talking for a good half, 3/4 an hour about what we're going to talk about. And I don't know if we call it an actual topic as much as an idea that I have found comes from oneness understanding and kind of where I was before and where I am now. We talk about that a lot. But one of the things I realized was that even outside of me understanding the oneness of of all who we are, before I even knew that, the mind, me, the individual consciousness of the mind, was still manifesting. And we all are all the time, regardless. And I think that's part of the cool thing about this oneness concept and really what life is all about. It's how and what we are manifesting. It's where we create our peace. We're creating it through manifestation. And I had a job before this where I had it for a lot of years. I could go back further, but I'll go to this one particular job. I had a job in town. It wasn't making enough. In fact, I had gotten, it was going to go, I was going to get laid off. The job was going to end. I was a bus driver at the time. And I started manifesting this image of me working up in northern Canada, driving a bus, I had a number that I made. And I was going to make this number. I'll say the number. It was $120,000 a year. And I was going to do whatever I could to make that money. I didn't care how many hours. This is the part that's interesting. I didn't care how many hours I had to work or what I had to do. I would do anything I could to get to this number doing what I do. And that's exactly what happened. I went up north. I started out making with 8 hours a day, whatever. I was doing okay. And then I did everything I could. I took a vision of what was going on around me. I realized what exactly my company wanted for me to get more hours. And I got more hours until the point where I was working 15 hours a day, 17 days on, 3 days off. So I was basically working around the clock. And then those 3 days off, I had to travel home and travel back. So, and I did that for a lot of years, but I manifested that. And now I realize, hey, okay, that's cool. That taught me something. And now that I know the oneness concept, I have a different view. I get to see from an outside view, a realization that the world is abundance. Being one with all means that the mind has created everything for the all, for one, for us, for me specifically. And you can say the same because I am you and you are me. So what I desired in my mind, or in what I have for a desire, I create in my imagination will manifest because there is no lack of time and there is no lack of money and there is no lack of anything. It's completely abundant and available. So from that perspective now, what I was doing before, I manifested something I wasn't really all that fond of doing. It was okay driving to make a certain amount of money going somewhere I didn't really want to go, up in northern Canada working in minus 45-degree weather, and become working around the clock, which isn't exactly what I desired to do, but I couldn't see any other way to accomplish the one amount of energy that I thought I needed, which was the $120,000. Now my mind is open to many options. unlimited amount of options. And all I have to do is find out what the desire is in me and follow it. And that number or whatever will manifest doing exactly what I want to do. Anyways, that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. How does this, how does that all react? How do you react to that, Sharon? Anything?
Okay. Steve. Yeah, I think that what you did in manifesting that job and the exact amount of money that you wanted or that you imagined is so important for people to hear, because it proves that you're the one that's doing all this
Mm-hmm.
through that process of desiring and then imagining and then getting to work to make that thing that you desire and imagine happen. Whether the work is um, looking for the opportunity or take interviewing for the job, there's still work involved in actually getting it, but you did it. Okay. um the challenge is when you don't know that it's you that's doing it, right? And you're thinking that maybe there's an outside God
Yeah,
that helped you get
that's where I
it,
was at the time. Yeah, yeah.
right? And yes, we now know in the oneness that it's you who is the God doing it, but there are lots of people who pray for things who don't get it. Okay. So, how is it that God helped you get that, but not help the other person get what they want? That's not fair. And we know God is just and fair. So, it doesn't add up. So, the question is, how do you reconcile the idea that it is you doing it, and at the same time um, feel unjustified in no, you don't want what you did. You feel bad now because you manifested something, but now you don't want it. So that leads to another subject that you and I touched on earlier, Steve, which is, can you be grateful for what you have? At that time it was the job that you were working 15 hours a day. Those are long hours. you know but it got you your desired result, but now you're done with that. You want to move on. So in the oneness, how I see it is, you can be grateful for that job, you can still feel gratitude for it, and at the same time wanting something different. Okay, so it served the purpose for which you created it. Now you want to move on. And the idea with feeling gratitude is if you don't have that feeling of gratitude, then you're going to have a feeling of ingratitude or indifference. And none of that is good for manifestation. Would you agree with that, Steve?
Right.
Ingratitude is different, or even indifference. It's not feelings that is conducive to manifestation.
Right.
Oh,
Um,
right. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, there's, I'm not saying it's completely necessary to believe necessarily the oneness concept that we've come to realize to live in this place. But if you do, I have found that believing in it, it's impossible not to be in that place for most of the time, even if we fall out of it a little bit. But because I've known people that I knew people that did not understand this concept, but knew that, believe that God was always giving and they were always going to be, given a certain amount of whatever was necessary. But even in that, most of those people lived in a sense of lack. Not in the sense of they can do whatever they want to do. They just had learned to live in a form of gratitude. And a lot of it, how much was it putting, like we mentioned in our previous video, how much was it putting a face on? Because that's what you're supposed to think. And that's what I found when I believed in a God outside of myself, separate from me. I prayed for this to happen, and it happened. So now I'm in a position where I feel obligated. That's the word I'm looking for. I feel obligated to remain in this place because God gave it to me. I prayed for it. God gave it to me. So I don't know what in my mind at the time made me think that if I wanted to do something else, that God would do that as well. To me, actually, I do know what it was in the religion that I was in right now. At that time, it basically was limited. It was just very limited. It was a very limited belief system. However, they talked about all different ways to. I couldn't see a way out. There was a gap. I got there because I saw a way to there. But once I got there and I had the 120,000, now you got to give it up somehow, right? Now you've got the 120,000, but the mind is, we know our mind manifested in the way we want it for ourselves. But I believe that God gave it to me. And now, how do I leave it? How do I leave this money? Anywhere else outside at the time, for me, I would have to drop this $120,000, which God gave to me, this job. So now I'm going to like shoo what God gave to me. If God gave it to me, then it's good, right? That's what I found that the Christian faith that I was part of at that time, this philosophy brought me to. And I couldn't, and not only that, there was another part we didn't even talk about before this. I also had to mention, I had a Bible study up north that was like a ministry. So now I got to leave that too. Right? And so I actually trapped myself in fatigue, in tiredness and everything, trying to hold on to this. When, if you really look at it, that's exactly what it appears Scripture is talking about an idol.
Right. Yes, idols are a whole nother subject that we could talk on. I have a lot to say about that. But
yeah, maybe that's what we'll talk about next time.
But here's the thing. Your desire to move on from the job you had, give up the 20,000 so you can go after a new passion, or you no longer desired what you have. It has nothing to do with gratitude. It's just a change of desire. And this is a point. Desires are eternal. You will forever want to experience the fullness of your potential. And you are eternally, your potential is infinite. And you'll want, so that you'll have that feeling all the time. But we have to remember that change is constant. Change is the only constant, in other words. So when you get the new thing, okay, so you no longer want the job that you're working 15 hours at. You're not excited about it anymore. So you're wanting something new. But when you get that new thing, it too, there will come a point where you'll not want that anymore. You'll become dissatisfied, not ungrateful for, but dissatisfied with it, so that you can have the next new thing. And that's just, that's how it's going to go on for eternity. And we should be okay with that process. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. Steve, or not?
Yeah, but in this case, this was all part of the learning process. So I'm like not regretting any of this, just so everybody knows. I don't regret it at all. In this case, well, I was actually not doing what I desired to do. I just felt like it was the only thing I could do. The only desire was to make that 120,000 that I had in my head, right? But everything else was not what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a recipe for Gehenna, and that's
Yeah,
exactly
and
what it was.
yeah, that's one way to experience it. But the other way to experience it is just to simply say, okay, I got what I wanted. It served its purpose for me. I'm
Yeah,
happy that it did, and now I'm ready to move on. And
right.
not you don't have to be in Gehenna about it. You just accept the fact that change happens.
If I
Change,
would have if I would have known the oneness concept, I wouldn't have been in Gehenna.
right, exactly.
But not knowing, and actually, if
Yes.
I would have known, I probably wouldn't have been going there either. But this all led me to knowing the oneness concept. I mean, everything.
Right.
I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for it now. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. I went up there and learned every kind of Bible belief system you could possibly imagine. I'm sure if there's any more, I don't know what they would be. Really,
Yeah.
I learned everything. And because I
Yeah.
was up in a camp doing Bible study where people were coming from all over the North America, right?
Right.
So I did that. I learned what workaholicism can do to a body. And I learned all the things that put us out of peace quite a bit.
And
And
now Steve is sharing with you his experience, so you don't have to go through what he goes through. And that's why we do these oneness
that's right.
messages,
That's
so
right.
that you
If you're in
can
these
learn
positions, yeah,
from
yeah.
experience.
That's why we do them. We do this
Yeah.
so people, because there is compassion from this in the oneness concept. Sure, we can look back and go, okay, now we can look back and go, wow. But when we were in them, they were, it was not fun. It was not
Fun.
fun.
Definitely.
It's to put it mildly, yeah.
Yeah. Steve, I don't know if we have time to touch on something we talked about. How much time do we have left?
We got
Like
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, maybe we can touch on it. You talked about the feeling of separation, right? That there's a separate God outside of ourselves.
Right.
Um, and this is what caused us to be in this Gehenna state, even in reference to the subject we're talking about now, having something we no longer want, and not being fearful of leaving it because we think God's going to judge us for that. God's not going to be happy because he gave us something, now we don't want it anymore. you know,
Right.
the idea of separation, when we were talking about, or after we talked about it, Steve, the thought that came to mind was Jesus. Okay. Jesus felt the separation from his Father, while at the same time knowing that he and the Father is one. How do
Yeah.
we know that he felt the separation? Because he prayed to the Father,
Mm-hmm.
right? He talked to the Father as if the Father was separate from him. But at the same time, he's saying the Father is not. So that's like what do you call that? A paradox? That's that doesn't make sense. But so the point I'm trying to make is it's okay to feel the separation, because there is no real separation. You and the Father are one, just like Jesus and the
Mm-hmm.
Father are one.
Yeah.
But the separation is a separation of, I want to say, your intelligence versus what your intelligence produced, which is your physical body. Okay, so your mind and your body, and you feel that, and you can speak as if it's separate, while at the same time knowing on a cognitive level that you're not.
Yeah. There's some sort of comfort in it.
Yeah,
There's some sort
there
of comfort
is,
in
I
it.
should say, yeah, because the comfort, I think, comes from the fact that there is no other way.
I think it's well, I mean, it's all like we
When
talk.
you're in the flesh, yeah, there. How are you going to not feel separate when you're feeling yourself in the form of flesh and not in the form of pure spirit?
Well, the whole point of us being here was for separation, a
Right.
separation narrative to have relationship. There
Right.
wouldn't be individual consciousness if separation wasn't an aspect to the contrast of what's going on. The oneness concept is it just allows us to experience the separations in peace. It's a knowledge beyond what's right in front of our face. However, it certainly appears that each individual, the mind, wanted us to experience separation for the purpose of relationship. And this becomes, and sometimes I feel really weird talking about this because when we know, and I think I get what Solomon said when he said wisdom is meaningless, and
Wisdom
knowledge
or
and
life?
wisdom and knowledge is meaningless. He said both. He said both
Oh.
because you can know it, but if nobody else knows it, what's the point, right? If you and I did not meet each other, this actual knowledge that I've come to understand could actually drive a person crazy
Mm,
because
mm.
there's no one to accept the relationship.
Well,
I
I
can't
experienced
I
that
can't
before I met
express I
you.
can't express it to people and people go, okay, yeah. It sounds crazy.
Yeah. Steve, to be honest, I experienced that very thing before I met you. There
Yeah,
was nobody else, even now. There,
yeah,
maybe there's one friend who lives far away from me who kind of gets it, but there's really no one else that I can talk to who understands oneness the way you and I do.
yeah.
Okay. And it's a lonely place to be. So, in that sense, I guess it would be meaningless. But at the same time, I kind of knew in the back of my head that I was not alone in
Right,
this knowledge because
right.
even though I haven't met anyone or at the time hadn't met anyone, I knew there had to be. I'm not nobody special. So why would I be the only one to have this knowledge come into my mind? No, it didn't make sense to me.
Right.
But yeah,
At the time, Solomon felt it was meaningless. And he
right.
didn't, I don't even think, it doesn't appear that he totally grasped it, but he grasped enough of it where he realized, like, wow. And he did grasp enough that this wisdom that he was coming to understand, he said, he was, he had come to this realization that he had more wisdom than anyone else, right? And he wasn't bragging about it. He was actually complaining about it. It was like, I would rather not know this right now, because people can't understand what I'm saying anyways. I
Mm.
totally get it. We're putting these videos out there. How many people are watching it and going, what the hell are they talking about? Like, seriously. You talk to me 5 years ago. If I talked to me 5 years ago, if I watched this video, I'd be like, these people are, what do they call it again? They're going to hell or something. Like,
Yeah,
what the,
yeah. Oh,
this is
mm,
nonsense, pure nonsense, right?
mm,
And so this is what we're doing right now. We're actually doing a video for people, realizing that vast majority of people are not going to understand what this is saying at all. But there's going to be enough people out there, and it's going to open it up. It is a beautiful message. I think people are opening up now in their mind to this, and I love it. I send it out to living in the abundance of. This is what we're taking it all back to the beginning of where we started from in this video. The ability to live in the abundance of what the oneness understanding gives each individual consciousness is worth every minute of it. It's worth everything you've ever gone through to get here. It's incredible. It's
mm.
incredible. And the contrast is amazing. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. I don't want to go
Yeah,
back.
exactly. That's the thing. You can't, it doesn't compare. Life doesn't compare.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for us to explain the difference, the freedom, I guess is a good word, that comes to you when you have this understanding. You know,
Yeah.
your fears are just kind of washed away.
I would
At least
recommend
the
anybody out there that's
muscle
not
pain.
understanding what we're saying is to meditate on remembering.
Yeah, or desire. You have to first desire, and that's. I guess we have to wrap up now. But you said that very few people at this point are interested in this message, and that might be true right now. But I still feel that in life we're at a tipping point now,
Yeah.
and people are going to be wanting more than the same old that they get in religion. Eventually, they're going to want something that makes more sense to them, and this might be that thing. So this will be out there forever for whenever who is ready.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what I love about doing this compared to what I do in my other work that I do with videos and stuff. That's where my financial means are. The numbers are important, and the numbers are important here because I want people, but I can't do anything but send this out to people, and whoever desires it will munch on it, like Jesus
Right.
said, "Eat my body." Yeah.
I
We'll
like
eat
that.
it. We'll eat of it, the manna or whatever you want to call it. Like Jesus called it manna. He called it many things. It's food that brings what you desire in your head right now. Are you banging your head against the wall every day, wondering why you're not satisfied, you're not happy, or not at peace? Your happiness doesn't remain because it's not supposed to. If you know, if you're in constant panic, if you're having anxieties, if you just feel like there's no point to life, guess what? The most intelligent man that apparently walked the earth felt the very same way. Go read Solomon. Go read Ecclesiastes. You're not going to find it in all those things he said. It's right here. This oneness message brings peace.
Yes,
It does.
freedom. Yep.
Freedom and peace. It's
And isn't
amazing.
that why came to set the captive minds free,
That's right.
or the captives free? So,
The Christ
yeah.
mind comes to set us free. And
Mhm.
also, I'd like to say we got 3 more minutes. If you are coming to this message, I think the first thing I did when I came to this message is beat myself up for not understanding it in the first place. And that, of course, will put us out of peace as well, which is fine. But it was all meant to be. We created it so we could understand this. We could be here now. Everything we've gone through has led us to this point. If you look into the life of Jesus, the Christ mind, look at his life. He went through many things in that one life, that from flipping over chairs to getting chased by people to getting thwarted to being angry to all of the things that we have done and more, to come
Mhm.
to his, and he found his greatest peace when the worst thing that could possibly happen to him happened, when
Mhm.
people were slaughtering him on a bloody cross. And that's when
Mhm.
he realized his greatest peace. So everything we've gone to is good. It's no bad. No need to beat
Yeah.
ourselves up, shoot ourselves down, or anything like that. We're here. We're here now, and I'm glad to have you. And if I'm going to pray to a separate God, the thing I'm going to pray to that separate God to is that you subscribe, hit the bell, and send this message to as many of the consciousness out there so we can experience this together. There's something in we were created for a relationship. Uh, Sharon and I found us, and yeah, the message is it seems to ferment, I suppose, like the wine, right? We make the wine in relationship. So have relationship with us, and comment in the comment section. Spread this around. If you want to be part of this broadcast, you can. If you want to just text me or talk to me or whatever, I'm an open book. I'm willing to be here. So I'll send this message. Send this message. I'd like to send this message out to as many people as I can. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks, Sharon, again for being there. You're amazing, and have a great day, everybody.
Okay. Bye bye.
To love to you.